ఇల్లు కట్టువారు నిషేధించిన రాయి మూలకు తలరాయి ఆయెను.
What is it that actually makes you you? When you strip away layers of biology and consciousness, are you strictly a physical body, or is there a separate ghost inside that shell? To answer that, we have to look at the original biblical formula for creation found in Genesis. It presents life as a precise equation: dust, representing physical matter, combined with breath, representing divine energy, equals a living soul. Let's look at the first variable. The physical body is formed from the dust of the ground. It is strictly material, composed of the same elements found in the earth, which makes it inherently fragile and mortal. The second variable is the spirit, or ruach in the original Hebrew. Ruach translates to wind or breath. It is the impersonal life force provided by God. It doesn't contain your thoughts or your personality. It is simply the energy that powers the machine. Human life cannot exist independently. We are the temporary result of physical matter being actively animated by that divine energy. Take away either piece, and the equation collapses. This brings us to the result of the equation, the soul. In Hebrew, the word is nephesh. Notice the phrasing in Genesis. God doesn't place a soul into a body. The combination of dust and breath becomes a living soul. Nephesh literally translates to a breathing creature. This distinction clears up a massive misconception. You do not have a soul. You are a soul. The soul is the complete, living, breathing organism. Because the soul is the physical creature, it is entirely vulnerable. The prophet Ezekiel states this directly in chapter 18, verse 4. The soul that sins, it shall die. Souls are subject to death. The soul, therefore, is the mortal, conscious person. And that consciousness exists only as long as God's breath continues to sustain the physical body. We assume humans operate on a completely different biological plane than the rest of nature, but our physical life actually draws from the exact same source as the animal kingdom. Both Genesis and Ecclesiastes classify animals as living souls, nephesh, using the exact same Hebrew word applied to Adam. They are animated by the identical spirit, or ruach, that powers us. Because we share this breathing mechanism, we share the same biological fate. When that breath stops, humans and beasts experience the exact same physical death and return to the very same dust. What separates humanity isn't biological immortality. Our uniqueness comes from being created in the image of God, which means we have a capacity for moral accountability, intellect, and a relationship with our Creator. Our underlying biology offers no eternal advantage over a bird or a stag. If we want life after death, we have to look outside of our own physical nature. Death, then, is the exact reversal of the Genesis equation. The unified living soul fractures back into its two original components. The physical body breaks down and returns to inert dust. The ruach, that impersonal breath of life, returns to God who gave it. Without the breath to power the brain, the machine stops. All thoughts, feelings, and consciousness cease entirely in the grave. So where did the idea of an immortal soul come from? It originated in the philosophies of ancient Egypt and Greece, later merging into religious traditions, rather than originating from the biblical text itself. Serious historians and scholars have acknowledged this discrepancy for centuries. British Prime Minister W.E. Gladstone openly noted that natural human immortality is unscriptural. Look at this excerpt from an 1870 theological journal. It explains that the Hebrew phrase nephesh kaya, or living soul, imports the idea of life by breathing. It has nothing to do with the notion of durability or living forever. Earnest, relying on an inherently immortal soul, means trusting a philosophical myth, one that directly contradicts the mechanical rules of life established by the Creator. If the soul dies and consciousness completely stops at the grave, how is eternity even possible? The actual biblical hope relies entirely on a future physical resurrection from the dead. Resurrection requires God to recreate the physical body and breathe life back into it, based on his perfect memory of that person. But the resurrected body undergoes a critical change. It transitions from a fragile, natural body, sustained by oxygen and blood, to an incorruptible, spiritual body, sustained directly by God's power. This transformation doesn't happen the moment you die. It is an event reserved specifically for the future, at the return of Christ to the earth. Our ultimate hope for eternity doesn't lie in a deathless ghost escaping the body. It relies entirely on the Creator's power to gather the dust, restore the breath, and rebuild the soul.